do Twitch. Twitch and YouTube and live right now. Okay, ooh. Wow. Got a good story on top story right now. Who's doing this story? Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's see here. Is NBC airing the Trump speech in full? That's a good question. Probably might. Let me see. I don't know. Maybe. Is it going right now? Let's see what time the Trump speech is. I'm sorry, what was that? Okay. Got it. Okay. Let's see. LKP LLC. Hello. The fan with the mic across the street from me. The fan with the mic across the street from me. Are you across the street from us? J Place, what up? SML, hello. How's everybody doing? Still showing offline here on my end, but I think people are on. I can see some chats coming through. Yeah, we're good. Where's Lisa? She's off. She is enjoying summer with her kids, as she should. Suzanne, you're gonna drive to Panera for a bagel? Really? Really? John Roberts, Chief Justice, filed on Monday. Interesting. That is some very interesting stuff. I don't know if you saw the news. Take-Two has filed for a subpoena at Discord. No, I did not know that. But GTA, that is going to be some lost productivity, possibly in a lot of people's future, not mine, because I'm not allowed to at my house. My wife has grounded me from video games. Irina, hello, Poland. How are you? Great to see Poland in the house. Hello from the lovely city of Duluth. Hans Johnson Studios. How is the weather out there in Duluth? We're tracking a bunch of crazy weather all throughout the Midwest, Northeast. There's all kinds of crazy stuff right now. Let's see. LKP, tell us what you mean. Kenneth, interesting perspective. SML, yes. Are you going to play that GTA game? I will not be playing that GTA game because, again, I'm not allowed to play. As a father of two, I'm not allowed to play big world video games. They take me out of reality, as my wife likes to say. I just say, if my wife was going to ban me from video games, I hear you, hi. Did you hear that all Spirit's data will now be used to train AI? I did, Jay Place. What was that deal? Like 10, was it 10 million or 10 billion? But it was, that's such a good story. Jay Place, we should do a story about that because it is, if you guys are wondering what he's talking about. So Spirit Airlines, you know, they went broke, right? And Google started buying up a lot of Spirit Airlines' data. Like, I think it was, you got the planes, you got the infrastructure, and then you just have data, like old emails, old, you know, scheduling, old customer data, like all that stuff. And Google has its travel agency, travel arm. So that data may be very, very helpful in training their AI models and whatnot. But yeah, it was a very interesting purchase. Instead of just buying things that you can touch, now we are buying straight up old data. It's wild. Interesting. Hi. That is very, very interesting. Discord servers I moderate as part of the subpoena. I can't wait to see your name in Discovery. Just telling everybody to behave in there. SML, I feel bad for you, Gotti, that you got grounded from video games, GTA. I'm sorry. It's okay. She means well. Sergey, why do you need to play video games if you have a wife? And kids, that's right. That's exactly what she says. And she has a good point. And so I play with my wife and kids all the time. And we live a wonderful, happy, filled with cars. In fact, right now, my son cannot find McMissile, which is a huge problem in my house. So everybody is like turning over couches and trying to figure out where McMissile went. But if you've seen Cars, Cars 3 is, I think, no, McMissile's Cars 2. Cars 2 is pretty great. Not as good as 3 and 1, though. A man, LKP, thanks. Haven't you played Mario? Of course, played Mario, all of the Marios. That's what I grew up on. I first started on Mario. Let's see, they would love that data, sell it to anybody for money. They might, or they might just use it to train their own models. That's the thing, like we don't know what they're doing, and all we know is that there's a lot of money going around for things that are not produced by AI. And so as much as you hear about this great singularity and how AI is all powerful, all knowing, remember, like there's a chance that yes, AI is gonna get super, super powerful, but a lot of AI is going to be degraded because AI copying AI, copying AI, copying AI is kind of like, you know, what happens when you copy a paper, copy a paper, copy a paper, copy a paper. Let's see. Continue with the data purchases. Tommy, I promise we're going to look into it more. We don't have that in tonight's broadcast, but we should. So we'll see if we can cover it next week because I don't think I've seen it very much in the mainstream. How does NBC assign people to do assignments like the Mario interview? Oh, Jay Place, you remember that? Yeah, that's right. I did. I did an interview with the full cast of the new Mario movie. Actually, not the full cast. We were missing a couple people. But we had the heavy hitters in there. Jack Black, Benny Safdie, who ended up with my Game Boy. Still think about that. I hope he's playing that Game Boy right now, because I'm not. What's on tonight? Suzanne, thank you for asking. Let me ask you this. What would you like to see on? What kind of news do you want to know about? First time joining. Shayna Battle. Great to see you. Welcome to the national news. Welcome to the international news. Shayna, I know you're like, what is this? This doesn't look like news. I promise this is the news. This is a real studio here at Universal Studios, right? This is called Stay Tuned Now. And the way it works is we are part of the NBC News network. And if you're on a television right now, you can turn on TV to NBC News Now. You'll see Top Story playing right now. And in about 5 minutes, you'll see my show. And it's not going to look like this. It's going to look nice and professionalized. I will take you through all the day's news for the next hour, but the best thing is this is the behind the scenes. So whatever you have questions on, whatever you want to talk about, if you have questions for our guests, sometimes correspondents, Belle is here. Belle, last night, she was asking a question, and we took it straight from here, threw it at the guest, and they answered it beautifully. But Shayna, that's kind of how it works. And you know, during commercial breaks, I'll come back here and we'll be able to chat. But during the show, you'll see it kind of like this. Maybe sometimes it's going to be over this way. You'll see it over here. That's the control room up in 30 Rock. This is a picture of Los Angeles. Usually it's my executive producer sitting down there. Sometimes we'll do like a little picture-in-picture here so you can still see what's happening in the studio. But the whole point of this is to be able to have this two-way relationship while we're doing the news. Hi, just remember this. I saw a video from Stay Tuned Snapchat. It was weird seeing it, I bet it was. That was back when I was a wee little lad. A couple days ago. Aw, Deborah, I love being behind the broadcasts too. The vertical camera days. Yeah, we used to take the camera and put it sideways. It was probably unnecessary, but yeah, it was what it was. And we'll lose original thought. LKP, does it have original thought? Suzanne, is it Shayna? Are we saying it right? Glasgow Celtic. Morning from across the pond. What time is it over there? More future. I like that. I love that. You know I love that, Belle. Oh, man. Okay, here's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the weather. There are 20 million people that are seeing severe weather, so it's probably the thing that's affecting the most people immediately, right? We've got tornadoes, we've got water spouts, we've got all kinds of stuff. So we'll get to the forecast, we'll tell you what it's going to look like this weekend. Then we're going to go to the White House. There was just a decision that was handed down to the Supreme Court that basically said, yeah, Trump, you can go ahead and continue, Mr. President, with your ballroom work, while a lower court was about to stop that work. So there's that. There's the China. I mean, there's still a tariff war. I know we completely forgot about that. China has a tariff still on it. They're going back and forth. A lot of our allies still have tariffs on them, including Canada. And today there was a deadline to see if they could reach some sort of deal before a massive tariff bump goes into effect. So we'll see what the latest is there. Also, I think he's out campaigning again for Darlene Graham, the sister of Lindsey Graham. See if she fills his seat. So that's the Trump stuff. And then we are going to be going to Alaska. There was a plane crash out in a very remote area of Alaska. Some engineers from the government were headed out to a radar site out there. Tupac trial. We've got Dana Griffith here on set. She's going to walk us through everything that's happening there, the latest on the Lindsay Clancy case. And then we are going to check in on whether the ceasefire is holding in Israel and Gaza, because I think there were still strikes in Gaza. There is a whole lot of stuff happening right now in the West Bank with settlers moving in on homes that are owned by Palestinians. So we'll see, we'll get a live report, or I believe it was just filed a little while ago from our correspondent overseas. Then there was this crazy car chase here in LA. Did you guys see it by any chance? I don't know what happened, but at one point, like a motorcycle got in line with the cops that were chasing this guy. It got weird. Let's see. And then we've got that rotting food situation out in Boyle Heights. Still messy, still disgusting. So, Campbell. Hello, how's it going? Pluto is a planet. Changed my mind. Real Donald, I tend to agree with you. I went to New Mexico State University, which played an important part in, the designation of Pluto as a planet. So I don't appreciate this reclassification, but on Monday, we're going to revisit all of it. 45 seconds is now down to 30 seconds. So this is a time of the day where I get a little nervous. We lock in, get ready for the show. We turn to Big Mike. We turn to the fellas. We say, have a good show. Have a good show, everybody.
Have a good show.
Have a good show. All right, here we go. 20 seconds. And let me just make sure I know where everything is. All right. Here we go. 10 seconds. Have a good show, y'all.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, I'm Gotti Schwartz, and tonight, severe storms, flooding, tornadoes, even waterspouts have been beating down on the Northeast. Tornadoes ripping through parts of New York, along with drenching storms that have been pummeling a lot of that area. There was an extremely rare tornado that hit Long Island yesterday. Look at this. Some people were hurt. Fortunately, they were not hurt seriously, but the tornadoes started as waterspouts before moving on shore. Nassau County officials on Long Island say one of the tornadoes tore through a beach club. It destroyed at least 50 cabanas and buildings. NBC's Valerie Castro has the latest.
Tonight, a new round of severe storms striking the east. Heavy rain across the Carolinas.
That's really bad.
This after a frightening scene just outside New York City. As many as 2 waterspouts spotted. At least one moving on shore as a tornado striking Atlantic Beach.
Oh my God.
Watch as the storm sends chairs somersaulting across the sand. This beach club taking a direct hit. Firefighters searching cabanas for anyone trapped inside.
This is the Sun and Surf Beach Club in Nassau County that sustained some of the heaviest damage from these storms. Take a look at this debris littering the sand, beach chairs everywhere.
In New York City, nearly 2 inches of rain falling in just 1 hour, soaking subway stations and severely disrupting service. Riders climbing these stairs as water cascades down. In Dover, Delaware, a dash camera capturing this rain-wrapped tornado. Watch as it rips the roof off of this motel. Aerials showing the aftermath. Vehicles in the parking lot covered in debris.
Really scary, to say the least. Things start flying. A thing hit a telephone pole, hit our sign, and knocked it out.
And west of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a tornado striking this high school.
There are some rooms where you walk in and you can see the blue sky. So the roof has totally been peeled off.
You can see into those rooms right there, what appears to be computers on the tables next to the wall, papers and debris littering the floor, ductwork dangling from what's left of the ceiling. Back out here at this beach club today was all about the big cleanup, clearing out debris and piling up things like those beach chairs that you can see there, some personal belongings. Next, officials say they'll conduct safety inspections to see if any of this can reopen before the end of summer and that busy Labor Day weekend. Gotti?
Valerie Castro, thank you. And as the cleanup begins after those storms and tornadoes in the Northeast, August heat is still simmering across the country. In Hawaii, they're also facing the possibility of a tropical storm just days after Hurricane Lala hit. For more, let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Hey there, Bill.
Gotti, another busy night tracking the heat wave, the tropics, and of course, all the severe weather we've been dealing with from last night right into today. We've had a couple tornado warnings in areas of the Carolinas. Most of it, though, has been wind damage reports and a couple cases of some large hail. The yellow boxes are where all the severe thunderstorm watches are. The worst of it's definitely been in the Carolinas. There's been numerous cases here with not just, like in Charlotte, we had wind damage reports. We've had numerous reports of flash flooding, too. So it's one thing to have the severe storms, but also the flash flooding to go with it. All these maroon boxes here are flash flood warnings, and this will continue through Saturday morning. These are very slow-moving storms. It's also very humid outside, and that's why we're getting these incredible rainfall rates. And eventually, this heavy rain tonight will move up into areas of northern Virginia towards D.C. tomorrow morning, pushing areas of southern New Jersey, and then possibly Long Island and into areas of southeast and New England. So these are areas that were just hit by those big storms yesterday. As far as the heat headlines go, still about 63 million people, so roughly about 1 in 6 Americans is still under a heat advisory or heat warning. Dallas, there's no end in sight to this. I apologize. Not fun for kids going back to school. Also not fun for anyone this weekend unless you're by a lake or maybe even in the water. Look at these temperatures in Houston, 100, 101. Dallas, 105, 106. Phoenix, 111 to 113. So very hot conditions in these same spots, and there's no huge signs of relief either. Now let's talk about Hawaii, because it was only 6 days ago that especially the Big Island was just devastated by up to 2 to 3 feet of rain from Hurricane Lala. This is our new tropical storm, Moke, and this storm is going to be slowly heading towards the Hawaiian Islands as we go throughout the weekend. Now, this does not look to get as strong. We did see Lala getting to be a hurricane. This is expected to remain a tropical storm. So the big question is, how close to the islands will it get? There's almost zero chance of a direct landfall. Right now, it looks like it's going to go south of the Big Island by roughly about 200 miles. Just for comparisons, Lala was only 30 miles south of the Big Island. So these are all of our computer lines. There's excellent agreement. It's going to pass well south to the island. This was the track that Lala took, and you can see just how close it was to the Big Island. So that does not look to be a big concern. Our European computer model, one of our more accurate ones, this is 8 a.m. Sunday, and the green on here shows you the precipitation. It's a pretty wide spread. The heaviest stuff well to the south, missing the island, but there will be some rainfall. Of course, we have high mountainous peaks on the volcanoes, so that's going to help wring out the rain. So we still will, even though it's not going to be a direct hit, we will pick up locally up to 10 inches, more widespread, possibly 3 to 5 inches. This should not cause extreme concerns, Gotti, like what we had 6 days ago. But I'm sure for all the residents there that are still trying to recover, still trying to get power back on, still trying to get fresh water, this is not a headline or anything that they want to stress about.
Sure isn't. Bill Cairns, thank you. Meanwhile, do you remember the tariff war? Well, that is still very much in effect, especially with countries like China, our neighbor to the north, Canada. In fact, tonight we're just a few hours away from the deadline for Canada and the United States to strike a new tariff deal. That's how it's supposed to go. If they don't, a 50% tax on all of these categories is going to kick in, impacting nearly $20 billion of goods. Right now, it's not clear what negotiations look like, but here's what the president said this afternoon.
The deal with Canada is moving along, and we should be able to have a deal with Canada. we're also starting on a new deal with Mexico. A much better deal for the United States. I only make good deals. Much better deal for the United States, both with Canada and Mexico.
And while the jury's still out on what's going to happen between Trump and Canada, today the Supreme Court handed the president a win when it comes to that White House ballroom project, allowing it to continue after a lower court had halted its construction. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now. Monica, even more twists and turns over this White House ballroom. So what's the latest tonight?
Yeah, we were waiting for this kind of decision and for the Supreme Court to weigh in at some point, Gotti, because essentially we knew that if they didn't, this lower court order was going to have to go into effect at midnight, which would have meant construction would have had to stop for now on the above ground ballroom portion of this very massive, sprawling East Wing renovation project. But because the Supreme Court essentially came in and said, OK, we're going to allow this pause to be extended, this construction can keep going until they figure out the next steps. The White House and the president are applauding that. They're celebrating it, though, again, that's not the final word. But here's what the president had to say in reaction to that news today.
We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the ballroom, and it's all from people like me and great companies that are putting it up. It's going to be close to $400 million, and it's all paid for by patriots and patriotic companies, big companies. No taxpayer money for the ballroom at all.
And just a note on that price tag, the president, the White House do insist that no taxpayer money will be applied here. But we can point out, Gotti, that according to a government database, we do know that millions of dollars in Secret Service funds were redirected towards security enhancements overall for the White House complex. So some of that money could go toward this massive ballroom project. And so that's an open question as this continues. And we should also point out the president mentioned some companies there and private donations. Our parent company, Comcast, is a part of the partial list that's been released on those donors. The White House says they're going to put out the full list at some point, but we have yet to see that. Gotti.
And Monica, with these tariffs and Canada, like if we don't see a deal with Canada tonight, where could Americans start to notice the impact immediately here?
Yeah, and a couple of days ago, when those tariffs were potentially going to go into effect at midnight, really both sides of the border were bracing for the economic impact here because it's 50% tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian goods. But states like Michigan and Maine, for example, that import a lot of wine and cheese and even hockey sticks from Canada really could be feeling the impact there because it's up to the small businesses to decide whether they absorb those costs if these tariffs go into effect or whether they would pass those on to the consumer. Gotti.
Meanwhile, tonight's a pretty busy night, it looks like, on the president's schedule. It seems like he's back on the campaign trail a little bit, right?
At least for now, and this is the midterm campaign trail that the White House had sort of teased. The president was going to be out on the road about every week, they had said. That hasn't exactly been the case. He's been kind of going out and doing these political messaging events a few times a month. But we expect, according to the White House and the president, that that could ramp up as we do get closer to the midterm elections. But he is going to be stumping for Darlene Graham, the current senator, who, of course, replaced her late brother after he passed away, former Senator Lindsey Graham. And she is running and made some pretty controversial comments earlier this week about saying that she doesn't really think that national security is her thing, that she isn't as read up on foreign policy maybe as her brother was, since that was one of his areas of focus. But the president was asked about that today, Gotti, and he said that she actually just gave a very honest answer and that he certainly is giving her his full support. Gotti?
Yeah, we'll see what he says tonight. NBC's Monica Alba at the White House. Thank you. And we're learning more about that deadly plane crash that happened near a remote military radar site out in Alaska. All 8 people on board the plane were killed, including 2 people from the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, the plane took off from Anchorage. It was headed to a long-range radar site when it suddenly went down yesterday. Federal investigators say they are trying to figure out why, but that's going to take some time.
We're going to have to work with the recovery crews, wreckage recovery crews, to be able to get a helicopter all the way down there.
Now, the 2 pilots and the 6 passengers were flying on a Cessna 441 plane, kind of like this one right here, operated by Security Aviation, which is a charter company out in Alaska. Now let's bring in NBC's Courtney Kuby for a little bit more on this. Courtney, any theories on what might have happened to this plane here?
So we heard from the NTSB late today, and the one little nugget that one of the investigators gave was that saying that the pilots weren't able to see the runway as they were trying to come in for their approach to land. Now, apparently, they were relying only on their instruments for the landing. They tried to make one landing, they came around, and apparently it was on the second landing that they believe the aircraft crashed. But, Gotti, it's not clear why they couldn't see the runway. The weather conditions don't appear to have been a major factor here, but so it's one of the things the NTSB is looking at. Of course, this is Alaska, and it's a very remote part of Alaska. So the weather conditions and cloud cover would be one of the things that they obviously would be looking at. But again, the investigators did not talk about that. They did talk a little bit about this issue of having to go around for the second pass and how that may have factored in here. Here's what one of the lead investigators had to say about that.
We understand that they attempted one approach that ended in a missed approach, and the accident happened on the second attempt.
But again, no real reason for why they had to make those 2 attempts or why they couldn't see the runway still, Gotti.
Do we know any more about why they were heading out there?
So a U.S. official told me that this was a very routine inspection. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers chartered this Cessna to go there. 6 passengers on board, 2 pilots, 8 total people all killed in this crash. But the inspection apparently involved them looking at the fire suppression system at this remote radar site. Now, this is one of several different radar sites that the U.S. military maintains throughout the region. They basically are a bunch of radars that are tied to one another, and they're able to watch the airspace over Alaska and around the area to see if any kind of aircraft are coming in that shouldn't be, and they're able to alert the military and NORAD if, in fact, they see something coming through. It also allows them to monitor the borders of Alaska. But all these radars are tied in, and Gotti, just by virtue of the fact of what they're doing, it would make sense that they would put them in more remote areas, but that is one of the things that's causing one of the real concerns and one of the issues here. It's difficult for investigators to get to these sites.
Yeah, Courtney Kuby, really appreciate it. Thank you. Meanwhile, nearly 30 years after Tupac Shakur was gunned down in Las Vegas, jurors are now hearing directly from the man accused of calling the shots. Today marks day 5 of the Tupac murder trial, and for the first time, the jury is hearing Dwayne Keefe D. Davis tell his own story in his own voice. Earlier, jurors heard a recording of Davis speaking with police, giving them a first-hand account of what he says happened the night Tupac Shakur was killed. At the time, Davis told the interviewer, the detective, in confidence. It was a confidential recording, but in that recording, Davis says he was in the car that pulled up next to Shakur and claims that it was his nephew who pulled the trigger in the 1996 drive-by.
Man, well, I feel I can still go to jail with that, man, because this is federal. And that's
what is said right here cannot be used against you, Keefe. So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped.
Let's bring in NBC's Dana Griffin. Dana, it's fascinating to hear that tape from back in the day. So why are these tapes no longer confidential?
Well, the judge ruled them admissible because the defendant wrote a 2019 memoir where he detailed the killing of Tupac Shakur. And so that made those secret recordings now, viable to come into this hearing. Some experts say had he not talked, he probably would not be on trial right now. And so today, the big bulk of it was taken the bulk of the day was taken up by this 2009 interview that he gave LAPD and Las Vegas police. They told him that he would not be arrested. And so that gave him the grounds to talk about the shooting. His nephew, he says, fired 5 to 6 rounds from a semi-automatic gun. And by the end of the interview, he was actually professing sorrow for Tupac's murder, saying that he wished it never happened. He goes on to say, "My life's been effed up ever since."
Wow. And again, these tapes were made, this was somewhat of not a confession, but he's telling the detectives what he says happened. Like, does he see himself as a snitch here?
I think in his world, he's a self-proclaimed gang member. Snitching is like the one thing you do not do. Everyone in that car is now dead. He is the only sole survivor from that night. And so I think what he thought was like, hey, let me give him this information. Let me get this case off my back. I'm not going to get prosecuted. But a lot of people forget that even if you're not the trigger person, if you're in that group, if you're in the car and you had some sort of role in it, investigators say he's the one who supplied the gun, you can still be charged with the same level of crime as the person who actually pulled the trigger.
Yeah, especially if down the road you write a book about one of the most notorious killings in American history recently. Meanwhile, it sounds like things got a little heated in court today, right?
Yeah.
What was the back and forth about?
So a very agitated defendant essentially spoke up in court when the jury left, saying that he was upset because his address had been made public, and he said to the judge, that he was upset about that. And the prosecutor first initially said, oh, he's just mad because he's on trial for murder. He says, no, I'm not upset because you prosecuted, you endangering my family's life. And so the judge had to tell both sides to admonish your witnesses to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Got it. Dana Griffin, still a fascinating case here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And tonight, the trial against Lindsay Clancy, the mother accused of killing her 3 kids. The defense has rested their case. Now, throughout the week, jurors heard the defense argue that Lindsay Clancy was suffering from postpartum psychosis and severe mental illness when she killed her children. Family members testifying to her mental decline before the murders, and now that case is headed to the prosecution for their rebuttal. NBC's Stephen Romo has the latest.
The defense in the Lindsay Clancy trial has rested, but not before calling one of its most consequential experts yet. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Philip Resnick. His testimony is basically the culmination of the defense's entire case throughout the trial. Resnick has worked on many high-profile cases, including the Andrea Yates case from Houston back in 2001. He testified that Lindsay Clancy was psychotic when she killed her 3 children, and therefore he believes she was not criminally responsible. Resnick described the killings as what psychiatrists call altruistic filicide. So it's his opinion that Clancy was in a delusional state and believed she was actually helping to save her children by taking their lives. Now, he also pointed out about that male voice that we've heard so much about in this trial that Clancy reported hearing, commanding her to kill the children and then herself. But prosecutors were quick to push back, questioning whether Clancy's behavior around the time of the killings actually showed someone who was in a state of psychosis. And they also emphasized that she had not reported any psychotic symptoms to her mental health care providers at any point before that. Then the defense officially rested, and then it was time for the prosecutors to immediately start their rebuttals. They called psychiatrist Dr. Avram Mack to the stand, who essentially had the opposite assessment of the defense's expert. Mack testified that Clancy did suffer from major depressive disorder, and he also reported seeing no signs of bipolar disorder in her, something the defense has said time and again, that she suffered from bipolar disorder as well as postpartum psychosis. Mack disagreed with both of those findings. He believes that Lindsay was able to control her actions, and therefore he believes she knew right from wrong when she killed her children. So now it is a battle of the experts, and it will be up to the jury to decide which expert, which narrative they believe. And it could be in the hands of the jury pretty soon, as early as next week. Closing arguments are expected sometime maybe early or mid next week, and then deliberations will begin. Back to you.
Stephen Romo. Stephen, thank you. In Gaza, more Israeli airstrikes and tensions continue to rise with settlers in the West Bank. So is the ceasefire still on? NBC's Matt Bodner has the latest from the Middle East.
Thank you. Well, Israeli strikes on Gaza this week have cast further doubts on that already shaky ceasefire effort led by the United States. On Wednesday, just 2 days after Jared Kushner met with Benjamin Netanyahu to ask that Israel step back from these strikes on Gaza, a new Israeli attack killed at least 10 people. Israeli troops also that day crossed a ceasefire line in southern Gaza, they say, to detain a Hamas police colonel. And speaking about some of those strikes on Wednesday, the Israelis say that one of them targeted a Hamas commander who participated in the October 7th attack. That second strike, they say, targeted 4 Hamas militants and a police station. The IDF claims that they were planning an attack against Israeli troops. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, there's been a rise of violence by Israeli settlers against Palestinians in recent weeks. A Palestinian teenager was killed today after settlers entered a village. According to Palestinian officials, a large group of settlers attacked the village around 10 a.m., killing the teenager and also setting fire to Palestinian property. The Israeli military, meanwhile, said that soldiers were sent into the area following reports that Palestinians were throwing rocks at Israeli civilians. The IDF said Israeli civilians were present in the area without prior authorization and that a, quote, security official opened fire, causing Palestinian casualties. They did not clarify whether or not the shooter was a soldier. Back to you.
NBC's Matt Bodner. Matt, thank you. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we've got a power crisis in Gary, Indiana that's leaving thousands without power for 10 days now. What's behind the extended outage? Plus, another cleanup deadline has come and gone in the aftermath of that food storage warehouse fire in Los Angeles, leaving people still dealing with that rotted food at their doorsteps. And also, if you see this QR code, feel free. You can scan through with your phone. You can chat with us live. Let us know your thoughts. That'll take you behind the scenes. Stream it on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch. All right.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Interesting. Default. Deborah. Yep. See where you're coming from there. MS. Court system. Yep. Bell. Don't feed the trolls. Oh, no. Hey, guys, be nice to each other. Most of everybody's being nice, but hey, everyone's entitled to have their own opinion. Just keep it super cordial, you know? This show is for everybody, and if you're somebody that wants to know what happened in the news, and you want to come here, and you want to hear other people's opinions, and you want to just, you know, hope that tomorrow maybe we'll still be here on this planet, this is the show. But no fighting. No fighting in the chat, guys. Please. Please, no fighting. There's so much crap everywhere. All over the place, including all throughout our news show, that like the last thing we need is more of that in the chat, right? So everyone be nice. Be nice.
Staying at the desk.
Staying at the desk? Okay.
About 1 minute.
I did hear rumors of that, but I don't know if that's true. So we'll see. We'll see. But I saw some of those as well. I'm so ready for college football. Default. Who are you rooting for? Yep. Sure. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's see. Is there... Okay. What's she timed in for, just in case we lose?
10. 5.
Okay.
4. 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines we are watching tonight. This wild chase in LA that had a burglary suspect not only fleeing police, but also at one point, whoever was in a motorcycle that, I don't know, kind of joined the chase halfway through. Now, that pursuit at times hitting 100 miles an hour, some very close calls, but in the end, the suspect gave up. And a 16-year-old girl was charged with assault after she ran onto a field and tackled a middle school football player. This was captured in a viral video in Tennessee. That girl has been permanently barred from setting foot on any of the school's properties. And 9 people got hurt after a swing ride at Tennessee's largest fair malfunctioned. Eesh, the ride suddenly stopped, it came down, a few people hit that fence there. The incident is still under investigation. And a jury found the New York Times liable for defamation against a former University of Alabama basketball player who the newspaper wrongfully reported was present at a deadly shooting. After a 9-day federal trial, a jury ordered the Times to pay $9.25 million in damages. The Times hasn't lost a defamation lawsuit about one of its articles in more than 50 years. And the world's oldest living person turned 117 today. Ethel Caterham was born in the UK in 1909 when Edward VII was king. She told the Associated Press that she thinks her secret is being non-confrontational and never arguing with anyone. And some good advice there. Happy birthday. And it has been 10 days since a powerful thunderstorm devastated parts of Indiana with flooding and destruction. But parts of the city of Gary, Indiana, they are still without power. We are talking tens of thousands of people still in the dark, and the utility company is saying its goal is to have power back on by the 25th of August at midnight, which would mean some might go without electricity for nearly 2 weeks. Crews are dealing with downed power lines, massive tree damage, and debris. In some locations, they say they're not just making repairs, they're having to rebuild parts of the electrical system after winds nearly 100 miles an hour tore through that area. And let's bring in NBC's Shaquille Brewster. Shaq, so why is it taking so long to get the power back on in Gary?
Gotti, that is really the big question. We heard some frustration even from the governor there in Indiana, who said to the electricity company, the electric utility company there, NIPSCO, that they need to pick up the pace. We know that the federal, or the state government rather, is now asking for help from the federal government. It was today that they submitted a request for an expedited major disaster declaration that would unlock some more federal resources. But there is a lot of frustration and questions as to why this is taking so long. When you listen to the power utility company, NIPSCO, they say that the scale of the damage here is unprecedented and widespread. You saw some of those images of the actual storm that took place, but that was over a week and a half ago. They say that they are working around the clock. They're pointing to the fact that in the beginning there were 400,000 people without power. Now that number is around 30 or 40,000. So they're making progress, but there's still a lot of frustration over why people are still in the dark tonight, Gotti.
Yeah, tens of thousands over a week after. It's pretty wild. What are people saying?
Oh, they're very upset. I think that's the light way to put it when you hear some of the commentary and the comments from folks who are living there. For some residents, they're saying it's like they're living in a horror movie. One person on social media describing it as Gotham City. For others, they're talking about the lack of food or water that they're having access to. I want you to listen to what some folks said to some cameras throughout the week.
It's been absolutely horrible. We don't have service in this area at all whatsoever. At night, the streets, the roads, everything is pitch black besides the lights from the cars. When it first happened, there was no gas stations open. This is the second week now. So, I mean, we can be used to it, but it's not okay for us to be used to it.
This was not on camera, but one resident said that they are sleeping on the floor and have been sleeping on the floor for several days now because the mattress is too hot. That just gives you a sense of the struggle that folks are feeling. And there's also an impact on this when you talk about education. Schools have been closed. Some schools were having their first day of school. That has now been delayed and postponed at least until next week. But for some people, they're being told they won't receive their power until Tuesday. Gotti, it's Friday. Wow. There's still several more days that they're going to have to deal with this.
That's going to be such a long weekend. It's crazy that this is happening in the United States in 2026. And Shaq, I know that frustration is boiled into what looks like a class action lawsuit against the power company, right? What more are we learning about that lawsuit?
Yeah, this lawsuit just filed today. The plaintiffs in that case are arguing that NIPSCO, the power utility company, has not essentially maintained the vegetation around power lines, that they essentially did not keep up with regular maintenance required, which then allowed a storm when it came through to have this level of impact. Now, NIPSCO is saying that they have done that. They say they disagree with the description that's in the lawsuit, that they have been maintaining that vegetation around the power lines. They say they're going to fight this in court. But I think, Gotti, this underscores the frustration from people who are in that community. It's been more than a week and a half. They want their power back. Many of them think that that this was avoidable because it, was a strong storm, but it was still a storm that you're talking about. It's just another sense of the frustration that you're feeling there.
Yeah, here's hoping their lights come on soon. Shaq Brewster, thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Meanwhile, with another cleanup deadline missed here in Los Angeles, a lot of people in Boyle Heights are still suffering from that stench of that massive bio disaster of a warehouse fire. Remember earlier this summer, that food storage warehouse burned to the ground and left some 85 million pounds of food in the warehouse to rot. Neighbors say the stink from the rotting food lingered for weeks, bringing with it swarms of flies and rats, eventually leading to a state of emergency. Let's bring in NBC LA reporter Amber Frias, who's been following this for us. Amber, it's been 2 months since that fire. Today is another extremely hot day here in Los Angeles. What's the situation like out there? Is there still a smell in the air?
Hey, Gotti. Yeah, that smell is still very much present. It is a little lighter than what we had been experiencing in previous weeks, but it continues. It does come and go throughout the day, and especially during those hottest times of the day around noon, it really picks up and gets really strong. But again, also when the wind picks up, it picks up the smell, and you could really smell it. We were actually a lot closer to the warehouse just about an hour ago, but the smell started picking up and it was smelling very intensely, so we had to move away. So the smell is still something these community members continue to deal with every day.
Yeah, that's got to be so frustrating. And these deadlines that come and go, like, do they have any teeth at all?
You know, it's tough to say. Yesterday's deadline was not only a deadline that was imposed on Lineage by the city, but it was also one imposed by the Air Quality Monitoring District. And so today we reached out to them and we asked them, okay, so what happens now? Is there any consequences that Lineage will face? And they haven't responded to us. We also reached out to the mayor's office and we asked them what's next, what happens. Mayor Bass had said in the past that she wanted to pursue litigation against Lineage. And again, no response there. So it is really tough to say. Lineage says that they have no idea when they're going to finish. And in all of this, they have another deadline coming up next week on August 27th. By then, they're supposed to have the entire place completely cleaned up, disinfected, and deodorized. We did ask them today if they're still planning to meet that deadline, but they didn't answer that question. So a lot of things just up in the air.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. And speaking of things that are up in the air, like, what's the latest with the health issues that people have been dealing with out there?
Well, Gani, throughout our time here, we've been here since the very start, and people continue to say that they are experiencing respiratory issues, eye irritation. Some people that say that they have these coughs that just won't go away. And we had a survey come out, or a report from a local community clinic that had several mobile clinics in the area for a few weeks here, who kind of like took down all the patients that they had seen in the area, their symptoms, and they spoke to experts and attributed those symptoms, saying like, yeah, these are the kind of symptoms you get when you're exposed to a fire.
Amber Frias, your reporting out there has been so important. Thank you so very much for joining us. And coming up, one wrong dose and a woman in Tennessee was left paralyzed after a medical mix-up during surgery. What we're learning about that coming up.
3 minutes here.
3 minutes, okay. Man, that's so messed up. Let's see. Breathing that rotten food must be horrible. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Belle. Can't complain. Dun. Okay. Let's see. Paid $1,000 for a full solar system. Default. Interesting. And yeah, New Mexico is a great place for solar. What else? Oh, and yeah. Belle, this is a show for you. This is a show for anybody. Feel free. And like somebody, I think Hi was like, we don't ever argue in here in Twitch. So if you want to have a polite conversation with Hi every single day, he's like the nicest over on the Twitch side. So we got TikTok, we got Twitch, we got YouTube. But again, let's all be nice to each other. How far? Jay Place, I think we start writing about 11 local here. And then our packages, we write, depends on like when the edit is and when the shoot is. So I just got back from MIT. We wrote a package on that. It's a very cool story. You're gonna love it. Belle, you're gonna love it. It's a very futuristic story. And then I also got back, I was in New York. We shot another piece out there with a dog. I can't tell you the story about that either because we're still working on it, but it's gonna be a good one. You guys like both of them. They're both Future of Everything pieces. And they both have the potential for becoming paradigm shifts, which are my favorite kind of story. Deborah, yes, Let's do that. Opinions are great. Personal, yes, exactly. Personal attacks are not what this chat is about. Exactly, 1,000%. You can't tell us, that's a bit rough. Let's just say it has to do with dog allergies. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. TikTok, let's see, US, Japan, China economy, very dangerous. MS, okay, we'll check that out. Wildfire coverage, what's going on, Chiron? William Morales, good to see you. And yeah, now people know what's up with Puerto Rico. Real messed up. Are there aliens in the news? Not today. There's some stuff we're keeping track of, but again, hasn't risen to the level. We're still looking at it. I'm watching. America with choice, next election. Yes, they do. America always has a choice. The set is so well done. Icons only. Oh, stop gassing us up. I'll let them know. Thanks, though. You want to know why it's purple? Because we want everybody to get along.
4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. We're back now with a mother and son facing charges over the stabbing death of an 18-year-old college student in Pennsylvania. Both suspects seen leaving the police station after questioning here. NBC's Emily Aketa has this one.
In all white and handcuffs, 18-year-old Royce Moser facing charges for allegedly stabbing his girlfriend to death this week.
Did you kill your girlfriend?
Shortly behind him, his mom, Rachel, accused of helping him cover up the killing that's rattled a small western Pennsylvania town. Initially, she denied playing a role before apologizing.
I'm sorry.
Our Pittsburgh affiliate, WPXI, says she then said,
"Tell us why you're sorry."
My son took a life. Penn West California soccer freshman Caroline Heinz was found in her Jeep Cherokee early Thursday near campus. Hours earlier, police say the young couple was together, parked outside of Royce's father's house, now being searched by authorities. That's where, during the conversation, Royce got angry, according to court documents, explaining to police he had a demon takeover, telling Heinz, "Wait, I have something for you."
He goes inside and grabs a large knife from the kitchen. Comes back out and proceeds to stab her in the chest area.
After the stabbing, authorities say he called his mom about what happened, and the pair allegedly tried to clean the car. It's unclear if they've retained an attorney. Police say the two were later captured on surveillance video wearing blue latex gloves and driving towards campus, where they left the Jeep with Heinz inside. The 18-year-old victim's soccer team posting today, "There are no words to describe the immense pain and sorrow we feel. She was a beautiful soul." Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
Emily, thank you. And this next story is pretty terrifying. Her grandmother in Tennessee says that she went in for a knee surgery, and instead of being given an epidural to control the pain, she was given a dose of potassium chloride instead. That is the stuff they often use for lethal injection. Her family now says she is paralyzed from the chest down, and NBC's Ann Thompson has more.
At this Nashville hospital, a nightmare scenario. 4 patients harmed in an apparent medical mix-up at Ascension St. Thomas Midtown, leaving at least one person paralyzed. 72-year-old Glenda Dorton went to the hospital for knee replacement surgery a week ago. All seemed fine until she woke up, says Dorton's daughter-in-law, Christina Buell.
She has zero feeling, movement, or response to pain from her breastbone down. We don't know what recovery looks like or if there is recovery.
Buell says her mother-in-law was supposed to get anesthetic through a spinal shot. Instead, she was injected with potassium.
She was having a reaction. She was itchy, and she said her whole body was burning.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and state health officials are investigating. Tonight, in a statement, the hospital says it was an isolated medication error in its pharmacy. 4 patients mistakenly received potassium phosphate instead of an anesthetic. It has implemented new safety protocols for high alert medications. While tragic, such mishaps are very rare, says Dr. Kuldip Patel of Duke University Health System.
Typically, when events like this happen, it's not a singular individual or single misstep. It's usually a series of different things that potentially have gone wrong.
Christina Buell tells our affiliate WSMV that what happened to her mother-in-law is unthinkable, but the once active 72-year-old is resilient.
Honestly, she is handling this better than any of us, better than anybody could have ever imagined.
And Thompson, thank you so much. And coming up in the future of everything, the growing movement against flock cameras over privacy concerns and potential misuse. A closer look at how all that's playing out next.
Minutes.
2 minutes. All right, we got 2 minutes. Yeah, default. That was, could you imagine? Could you imagine? You're going in for knee surgery to help your knee and, yeesh. Yeah, and then the story before that, like the high school life taken, it's just, yeah, sorry for all the bad news, guys. We're moving on to the future. Yes, yay, future, Bell. This one's, I mean, this one's pretty controversial too. Yeah, go ahead. Garvey. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, this one's not the most uplifting of future stories. Look, sometimes it's utopic, sometimes it's dystopic, but I agree with you. Actually, Bell, you're on my same wavelength when it comes to the future. It's like, this is nonpartisan. It's something that we're all going to inhabit together. So we'll see what you guys think about these flock cameras. We're going to start over here. Let's see. Taxpayer dollars to replace them? I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's an interesting take. Not a playbook. Interesting. Yeah. It's also interesting to see how flock cameras kind of... Uh-oh. I lost my stream. Tonight, in the future of everything, growing protests over the proliferation of flock security cameras across the country. Now, those are those automated license plate readers that have been popping up that kind of look like cameras on a stick. And if you're thinking, didn't we already have security cameras? What makes these different? Well, Flock uses AI to log car data instead of just taking a picture. Then it can track where that car goes, including cars of people who've done nothing wrong. Now, there are over 120,000 flock cameras scattered all around the country right now, and people ranging from the left to the right have been raising big concerns over mass surveillance. And now there are protests ranging from vandalism to the more creative. Take a look.
They're falling over. He did try and help that one though. Oh my God, another one. He's trying to hold it. He's trying to hold it. Oops. And another one. He's oh my God.
The Emperor is a fan of Flock, and we must continue utilizing Flock technologies so that we can follow and surveil the rebel scum as they move from playground to playground, from playground to pool, from pool to gymnasium, because we all know that the Flock cameras are not only following the license plate readers, they are following children.
That last guy, Darth Vader there, trying to make a strong case, I guess, for an emperor in a galaxy far, far away. But you get the point, right? All the backlash led to Flock Safety announcing new safeguards last week, like shrinking the time it holds onto people's movement data. But many say that is not enough. Let's bring in the Deputy Director of Technology, Law and Policy with the Policing Project at NYU, Claire Garvey. Claire, great to see you. It's been so interesting to see this very diverse coalition against flock cameras kind of forming here. What stood out to you?
I think the best way to put this is that people are frustrated and they are right or wrong expressing this frustration in a lot of ways. And lawmakers, our elected officials need to listen to this. This is speech. This is activism that speaks to what we are asking for from our elected officials around placing controls for this use of ALPRs.
Do you see any parallels here between this and red light cameras? Because it seems like for a while, like those were absolutely universally hated, but those are still around.
There is definitely a parallel, and this falls within a much broader story of emerging police technologies that are becoming more widespread and collecting more and more data on us. The real question is whether that should be done in the absence of authorization, approval by our elected officials, or whether we should have a say through those individuals on how this technology is used or not used, and what information is collected on us and how long it's stored.
And are these effective? Like every so often we hear about a flock camera being used to solve a pretty notable case. How do you measure that against some of the concerns over privacy?
The ability for law enforcement to find where a given car is, where a given license plate is, can definitely have benefits. This is where, again, regulation can come in. Can we protect the benefits that these systems give to law enforcement while also mitigating the harms? Can we allow, for example, law enforcement to be able to track a car fleeing the scene of a violent crime and also prevent all of our scans collected every day being kept for years to be searched at any given point in time later down the road?
Does it seem like the backlash is enough to change things nationwide here?
I hope so. And we are seeing some jurisdictions, some cities canceling their contracts with Flock. What I would say, though, is I would caution around thinking of this as just a Flock issue. Flock is one company that sells automated license plate readers. Yes, it's put controls in place, but it is not the only company. So what happens when a jurisdiction cancels their Flock contract and then signs an Axon contract, signs a Recor contract? We really need to be thinking about automated license plate readers as a technology and not specifically about just one company.
Yeah. Claire Garvey, really appreciate your insight here. Thank you. And flip phones, those seem to be making a major comeback with a bit of a makeover. Foldable phones that look like smartphones but open up to resemble more of like a mini tablet. Those are rising in popularity. And NBC's Brian Chung tested some of them out.
Hey, if anybody needs to make a call, I've got a phone.
It was the status symbol of the 90s and early 2000s, when phones used to flip,
hello,
and slide.
Hello?
And even the trendiest stars couldn't pick up on the next big thing.
All right, I don't know how to work this.
But oh, have the times changed.
And we are calling it iPhone.
Touchscreen smartphones ushering in a new era. Fancy features to call, text, take pictures, shop, and scroll social media. Still, that single flat screen couldn't compare.
I traded my smartphone for this flip phone 4 days ago.
I love it, I love it, I love it. Hello?
History has always kind of repeated itself with phones. We went from brick to flip to brick with full keypad to brick with a touchscreen, and now we're flipping back.
Companies including Samsung and Google releasing new generations of foldable smartphones.
To switch phones, you have to be open to what's new.
But could a foldable from Apple, rumored to come out next month, be the one that people will really flip over?
If and when Apple jumps in the game, does that mean that foldable phones are coming for everyone's pockets?
Not everyone's pockets, unless they've got big pockets, literally and figuratively, because they cost a lot of money and they're pretty big.
These phones start at $18.99, but at least some may be willing to open their wallets, with estimates showing a 20% growth in the market for foldable phones this year.
Ahead of what could be a brand new foldable iPhone, we're going to test out two devices already out on the market, starting off with the Google Pixel 11 Pro Fold. This is a phone that expands to an 8-inch screen and has 3 cameras on the back. and also the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8. This expands to a 7.6-inch screen with this kind of passport-style shape and has 2 cameras on the back.
The phones are actually lighter than your standard iPhone Pro Max, but some of the biggest questions is the middle crease distracting, and how do these phones hold up with constant opening?
The idea that you're closing a screen can be more prone to breaking, right? It's fundamentally a screen sandwich, and that can cause issues.
As for the screens, they were large enough to be used as an e-reader or to watch your favorite show.
The dimensions on the Z Fold 8 are basically exactly the same as your Kindle.
The size comes with some compromises.
I have to hold this thing with 2 hands, so I gotta tuck this under my arm to make sure I don't drop anything.
The larger screen did help me multitask and take nice photos.
What I can do is flip this around, use the better cameras on the back, and take a nice selfie. Look at that. Look at those pearly whites.
But the true test may be winning over the billions of smartphone users around the world.
So give it an open.
Oh.
Just too big for me.
Yeah. Also, like you're at work and it's like noticeable when you're not supposed to be on the phone. Yeah.
The iPhone 17 Pro is already, what, $1,400 already? Yeah. So it's not a bad price. So you'd be open to spending the little extra money for this?
For sure. Yeah.
Do not need anything bigger, but I think it's cool.
A cool factor that may bring these phones into the fold.
Brian Chung, NBC News.
Brian, you're going to need some Jinkos pretty soon there. Brian Chung, thank you so much. Turning now to a heroic story about a Florida lifeguard who was on vacation when things took a dangerous turn in the waters. His training saving the lives of those most important, his own family. WTVJ's Chernayev has more.
Most days you can find Marcelo Lorenzo up here, keeping a close watch on the waters off Hollywood Beach. The 24-year-old was trained by Hollywood Ocean Rescue to be ready to move when someone needs help.
We're always training. We're out here just getting ready for the worst, and that's exactly what happened.
Cell phone video captured the moment a raft carrying Marcelo's father, aunt, and cousin slammed into a boat right next to him. Marcelo's family wanted to cap off their week-long trip to Aruba with an excursion, but it took a turn.
When the captain of the boat cut to the left, it whipped my other family members straight directly into the boat. And the minute I saw that, I knew I had to jump off my raft and go save them.
And the first person he reached, his father.
He was unresponsive underneath the boat. That's when I grab him and pull him up out of the water, and I swim him to the backside of the boat. Then when I swim to the backside of the boat, I find my cousin face down, unconscious in the open water.
With his dad on his side, he grabbed her too, stabilizing her head and neck. 2 workers on the catamaran helped lift her on board and took off for shore.
I then lifted my father onto the back of the smaller boat. That's where I found my aunt as well with a broken arm.
A family vacation that began with smiles, ending in the hospital with prayers and gratitude for life.
Don't take family for granted. Anything can happen, and it was just unfortunate, and it could have went even worse, but thank God, everybody will be good.
Thank God he was there. What a hero. Chernayev Emerald, thank you so much. And still to come, camp is giving kids on the spectrum a chance to learn the ropes of sailing. We're taking you on the water with them just ahead. But first, you got to see this. If you're at Citi Field Stadium and you're, I don't know, spilling your peanuts everywhere, and then you see this little hand reach through, you really only have 2 options. You can rightfully run away, or you can decide to feed it a hot dog, which clearly comes very appreciated by whoever is down there. Hopefully it's just a raccoon. We'll be right back. All right, clear. Have a good weekend, everybody. Except for you guys. You guys can stick around and watch the rest of the show if you want, because that sailing story. Thanks, Todd. Have a good weekend, guys. Yeah, but the way this works, if this is the first time watching, we pre-taped the end of the show. So only the most astute of observers see how that goes. But yeah, I guess you were one of them. Can you guys hear me okay? Check, 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 check. Thanks, Belle. Thank you for watching. Thank you, William. What was that animal? I don't know. I hope it was a raccoon or a rat. Who knows? Let's see. The Mets are, oh, hi. You're not a Mets fan? Yeah. Anyway, Asta. But yeah, if you guys want, stick around, especially if you're watching on television. The show continues. That story with the, you know, And finally tonight, off the Wisconsin coast, a group of kids find out the water does not ask them to be anything different. It's practically the motto of a sailing camp, changing lives for kids on the autism spectrum, one adventure at a time. Take a look.
For 13-year-old Charlotte Steffen, being out on the water feels like ruling the world. Here off the coast of Sheboygan, Wisconsin, she's one of several kids learning the ropes.
Give it a good yank.
And she's already a natural, thanks in part to Spectrum Sailing,
Look how far we are.
a free sailing camp for kids on the autism spectrum.
Anything I can do to make it easier for other families as they move forward is really rewarding for us. That's good.
Lifelong sailor Scott Herman founded the program after facing dozens of rejections from camps that couldn't accommodate his own autistic son Daniel. So in 2018, he started his camp to help other families totally for free.
Good job.
And in the years since, he's expanded to more than a dozen camps across the country.
The most important thing here is that we're helping them learn those life lessons, building self-esteem, making friends, and able to move forward in a better place.
Life lessons like clear communication, staying calm during the unexpected,
That was terrifying.
Awesome.
Oh, you did awesome.
and being brave enough to try something new.
Good job.
Charlotte's mom Amelia says she saw them all for herself.
She can come into a program and be seen for who she is, and not just seen, but like loved and accepted for who she is and what she brings to the table.
Love and acceptance, charting the course for bright futures ahead.
Every child, every sailor has a chance to be successful here, and the parents get to see that. They drop them off, and they're nervous, and they pick them up with smiles.
Happy sailing. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here on Monday, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now.